It is getting closer and closer to the end of the year, and for those of you who also do reading challenges like I do a reading challenge every year to try and beat the number of books that I read in the last year. I want to give you some books in case you're worried about meeting that goal, or in case you're a few books behind schedule, that you could read these books in a day. Some of them you could read in one afternoon. Some of them you might not want to. You might want to take longer and savour them because they are just that good. But I read all of these books in one day when I read them. Not all of these books in one day, but all of these books can be read in one day, and in my opinion, they are absolutely excellent, and they are likely to be 5 out of 5 reads for you. So not only are they going to be helping you catch up with your Goodreads challenge or your reading challenge if you are doing that, they also might sneak in there and become your favourite book of the year right at the end. So I have 6 books to talk to you about today, and they are varying genres and varying styles. So I think there will be something for everyone within this list. And I'm going to go through them shortest to the longest. And the shortest book comes in at just 100 pages. So let's get started. Pause for siren. So let's get started with the first book and the shortest book on this list that comes in at just 100 pages. It's Assembly. This is a skinny little novella, and oh my god, I loved it. When I read this, I immediately pushed it into the hands of whoever was closest to me at the time because it's incredible. I don't usually annotate or tab my books, but I actually had to for a few quotes in this one because something about it was just so stunning. It actually stunned me. So this book is about a young British black woman, and she has worked so hard all her life to get where she wants to be. And now she has everything she wants to be. She's up for a big promotion, she's got a really good, well-paying job, she's got a stable boyfriend, and this book basically jumps kind of forward and back in her life, and it's very much a stream of consciousness type book, but it is basically building up to this lavish garden party that her boyfriend's family are holding. I don't want to kind of give anything away. I just love the themes that was explored in this one. It explores growing up in a time of a hostile environment and during a credit crunch and what that can do to you psychologically. I loved the theme of choice and are our choices really our own, and what happens if you choose to do nothing. This one is just beautiful. It's a short read, and I just think it's so well crafted. Also, everyone that I know that has read it and that I've forced to read afterwards really loved this book. So especially if you're from the UK, I think definitely read this one. But also I do just think this transcends just that UK experience. So Assembly is the first book on this list. Next up, we have more of a cozy fantasy vibe, if that is more your taste. And I've talked about this book before a little bit, but I want to mention it again. And it is Thorn Hedge. So this is by Kingfisher, and I just love her writing because she really mixes together the cozy and the creepy all in one very fun story. They're always really unique, and they follow really unique characters. So this one is 119 pages. It is very tiny. It won't take you long to read it all. And in this book you are following Toadling, who was on the day of her birth stolen from her cradle, and she was brought up in the land of the fairies. And now she has to return to the human world to protect a princess. I loved Toadling, and I love the other characters in this one. It's a really good fun time. If you like fairy tales, and especially gothic reinterpretations of fairy tales, then definitely pick up Thorn Hedge. This is just one that'll be really fun to cozy up with on the sofa on a dark and stormy day, and yeah, so Thorn Hedge. So next up we have a duology, and so if you like the first one, you can very easily go and pick up the next book in the duology. But the first book in the duology is A Psalm for the Wild-Built. I did just check how you say the psalm, and I hope I'm saying it right. So A Psalm for the Wild-Built is a duology, the Monk and Robot duology. So it's actually 2 books, and they have the most gorgeous covers. These covers are also very reflective of the vibe of the book. So this duology is actually what's known as solar punk. Solar punk is a genre of fiction that envisions and works towards actualizing a sustainable future interconnected with nature and community. So basically these are set in this kind of dystopian/utopian future where AI and robots are a thing of myth and legend. Basically one day all of the robots in the world just got up and left humans. And in this book you follow Dex, who is a tea monk. So they brew tea and they travel around around to all the human populated areas in the towns and the villages, and they brew tea for people and they listen to their problems. But one day Dex is seeking a big change. They want to have a break to their routine, so they travel into the wilds where they encounter a robot called Mosscap who is asking the question, what do people need? These are just really sweet, really optimistic and kind of slow and cozy stories that have a philosophical kind of twist, and I just really love them, and I think that they're really fun and touching and sweet reads. And I am personally really excited to read more from Becky Chambers because I absolutely love this duology. Next up, changing pace slightly from the cute and cozy, we are going to a slightly more harrowing read, but this is also one of my absolute favourite books of all time, and it comes in at 188 pages, so it is I Who Have Never Known Men. I Who Have Never Known Men is about 39 women who all live in a bunker underground, and they are being under constant watch and constant guard. None of them know why they are there, why they are underground, why they are being kept prison, and they only have hazy and vague memories of the time before the bunker. And they also have no idea why one of them is a little girl. So you follow the story through the perspective of this little girl as she grows up. And this is one that I don't want to tell you any more about the plot because it is a wild ride to read. This is one of those books that just, as soon as I started reading, it had me gripped, and parts of this book just had my heartbeat absolutely racing, and I could not turn the pages quick enough to find out what was going to happen. But don't mistake this for a kind of pacey mystery or thriller novel, because it's really not. It's actually a very quiet and beautiful reflection on love and community, and just one of the most unique coming of age stories that I've ever read. I've never read anything else like this book ever, and so if you are even remotely curious, I would say definitely pick it up. Okay, next up we are talking sci-fi, and this is another one of my absolute favourite books, and it is This Is How You Lose the Time War. So this book comes in at just under 200 pages, at around 198 pages, and it is unique for so many reasons, one of which being is written actually by two authors. So this tells the story about two agents on opposite sides of a time war, and they are rivals and enemies, and they communicate to each other through letters. The two main things I love about this book is, one, the sheer inventiveness. It's a feast for your imagination, how these people are sending letters to each other, and just the world in which that they live is just beautifully imagined. And secondly, my favourite thing is the beautiful lyrical writing, because this is essentially a love story between the two characters. So while it is a sci-fi and it does have some of that sci-fi energy, I would say if you are someone who doesn't usually enjoy that genre, then I would still say give it a go. If you love really beautiful and lyrical writing, then this still might be for you, because it does really focus much more on the relationship between the two characters than anything to do with space or time travel, even though that is obviously the backdrop of the story. So This Is How You Lose the Time War is an excellent book and one of my absolute favourites. I really want to reread this soon, actually. Okay, and the last book that I have is slightly longer than the others, but it's still within the 250 page range, and it's also just another one of my absolute favourite books, and I really wanted to talk about it because I don't think I've talked about it yet on this channel, and I absolutely loved it. So the book that I'm talking about is Piranesi by Susannah Clarke. So Piranesi lives in a building made up of infinite numbers of rooms and endless corridors, and everywhere you look there are thousands and thousands of statues. And Piranesi lives there all alone, and he spends his days exploring the rooms and taking notes and also just trying to survive. But there is one other person in the house, a person called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks him for his help to try and figure out the mystery of the great and secret knowledge. But when Piranesi sees signs of potentially another person in the house, then everything kind of starts to unravel, and that's all I'll say. This book takes maybe a little bit getting into for some people. For me, I just loved the writing, and I loved the character of Piranesi himself so much. He has this beautiful naivety, and I loved reading from his perspective. I'm also just now desperate to read Susannah Clarke's other books like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, because I've never read that one before, and it's kind of the opposite of this one, which is quite short. I think her other book is just quite intensely long, which is probably why I have not read it yet, because as you can see, I love short books and novellas so much. Piranesi is also just something like I've never read. It feels like you're reading a dream almost, and you're missing some bits of information, but you're kind of making it up as you're going along and you're traveling through this journey with Piranesi himself. There are some absolutely beautiful lines in this, and yeah, like I said, I just love Piranesi himself, and his kindness and his outlook on life is just so comforting to me. So this is another one of my absolute favourite books, and if you have not read it yet, you should definitely read it. So those are the 6 books, kind of 7 books if you're counting both of them in the Monk and Robot series, that I would recommend that you need to pick up before the end of the year if you're behind on your reading challenge. And I honestly think that one of these, or multiple of them, will be 5-star reads for you as well. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. It means a lot to me. And if you have subscribed, then thank you so much. And that is it from me today. I will see you again with another video soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!